Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're diving into one of the biggest stories in crypto right now.
It's definitely got everyone talking.
It's the Bybit hack.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
Potentially the biggest crypto heist we've seen to date.
Makes the others look like,
Small potatoes.
pretty much. We're talking about $1.5 billion
In Ethereum.
gone.
And we're going to try and figure out what happened, how it happened.
And what it all means.
For you.
Exactly.
So Bybit, a major crypto exchange,
One of the biggest.
got hit on February 21st, 2025. The hackers went after their cold wallet.
You know where they store assets offline for extra security?
You'd think that'd be pretty safe, right?
You would think.
Not this time.
This was different.
So how'd they do it?
Well, what's really interesting here is the method.
Yeah, because this wasn't just your typical brute force hack.
Right, this was sophisticated. Bybit CEO Ben Zhou called it masking. They basically disguised the user interface and URL.
Like creating a fake storefront.
Exactly. To trick people into giving away their information.
So even with offline storage, there's still that human element that can be exploited. That's kind of scary when you think about it.
Absolutely.
So walk me through this masking thing. How did it actually work?
Okay, so picture this. The folks responsible for authorizing transactions from Bybit's cold wallet, right?
Right.
They get what looks like a totally legit transfer request.
Uh-huh.
But because the UI and URL were manipulated, what they're actually approving is a malicious transfer, sending that ETH straight to the hacker.
So they were tricked into signing off on it.
Basically, yeah. Unknowingly handing over the keys to the kingdom. It makes you wonder how many other systems are vulnerable to this.
It's a wake-up call for sure.
Big time. Shows you that security's got to be multi-layered. Even with the best tech, human error, social engineering, it can all create huge vulnerabilities.
Okay, so we got the how, but what about the who? Any idea who's behind this?
Well, blockchain analysts have been busy
I bet.
following the money. Some clues point to the Lazarus Group.
Lazarus Group.
Yeah, ring a bell.
It does vaguely. Remind me.
They're believed to be a North Korean state-sponsored hacking collective.
Ah, okay.
They've been linked to a lot of high-profile cyber attacks.
So this wasn't some guy in his basement.
Nope, this is organized, sophisticated.
State-sponsored. There's a whole other layer to this whole thing.
For sure, and it raises a ton more questions. What are they going to do with all that ETH?
Right.
And maybe even more importantly, how do we stop this from happening again?
All good questions, but first, let's talk about the immediate aftermath.
The market fallout.
Exactly. What happened when the news broke?
Chaos. Remember, we're talking $1.5 billion in ETH vanishing.
So people freaked out.
Absolutely. Fear, uncertainty, you know how it goes. But then there was this weird thing.
What?
The price of ETH actually went up for a bit.
Wait, what? Why?
Rumors started flying that Bybit would have to buy back a massive amount of ETH to cover the losses. That drove up demand. Classic buy the rumor, sell the news.
Oh, okay, so it was a roller coaster. What about Buy It? What did they do?
They actually handled it pretty well, all things considered.
Really?
Yeah. Ben Zhou, the CEO, he stepped up right away, addressed the situation publicly, laid out a plan to minimize the damage.
And what was the plan?
First, he reassured everyone that all other cold wallets were safe and withdrawals were still working. Then he announced they secured a bridge loan to cover some of the losses.
Bridge loan.
Basically a short-term loan to help bridge a financial gap, buy them some time to figure out a long-term solution.
So they're not just leaving their users hanging.
No, not at all. They actually managed to secure enough to cover 80% of the losses.
80%? That's a lot. Most companies would just try to sweep this under the rug.
Right. But they seem to be committed to transparency and taking responsibility. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
So how's the market looking now? Things settled down at all?
Things have calmed down a little, but everyone's still on edge. This hack has everyone spooked, and any little thing could send the market into another spiral.
Walking on eggshells. What about other cryptos? Did ETH take the biggest hit?
It definitely felt the initial shock, but the whole market felt the ripples. Smaller altcoins like XRP, Solana, Dogecoin, they all took a pretty big hit.
This wasn't just an ETH problem, it was a crypto problem. This hack really shook everyone's confidence.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It raises some big questions about the future of security in the crypto world.
So what happens now? Can the hackers actually cash out all that ETH without getting caught? And what does this mean for a future of crypto security?
We'll be tackling all those questions and more in the next part of our deep dive. Things are about to get even more interesting.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. So last time we talked about how the hack happened, who might be behind it. But now I'm kind of curious about the loot itself. $1.5 billion in ETH just sitting out there.
A pretty big haul.
What's stopping the hacker from just, disappearing? Buying a yacht, a private island,
Well, moving that much crypto isn't exactly like transferring money between bank accounts. It's more like trying to move a stolen masterpiece. You can't just walk into a museum and expect no one to notice.
So what are their options? They can't just let it sit there forever, right?
No, definitely not. One option is to try and launder the funds. Think of it like trying to clean a dirty coin. You got to run it through a bunch of processes to make it look legit again.
Okay, I'm following.
In the crypto world, this might involve using mixers, which are basically services that jumble transactions together, making it hard to trace where the money came from.
So creating a smokescreen.
Exactly. They could also use decentralized exchanges, which offer more anonymity than traditional exchanges.
So they're trying to create this, like, tangled web of transactions to hide the stolen ETH.
Right, but it's not foolproof. There are these companies, blockchain analytics firms, they're like the crypto detectives.
Oh, yeah.
They specialize in tracking crypto transactions, and they're already on this case, following the trail of that stolen ETH.
It's like a high-tech game of hide and seek.
That's a good way to put it.
But even if they manage to launder some of it, they're going to lose a chunk in fees, right? And exchanges take a cut, too.
Oh, absolutely. It's a risky and expensive process. And there's always the chance they slip up, make a mistake, and leave a trail right back to them.
So it's not exactly an easy payday, even though they got away with a ton of ETH. What's the other option then? Just like hold on to it and hope for the best?
Well, they could, but remember, the blockchain is always evolving. New tools and techniques are being developed all the time to track transactions. And law enforcement is getting more sophisticated, too. The longer they wait, the more likely they are to get caught.
So it's like they're in a
tough spot.
Yeah. They can't spend the money without raising flags, but they can't just sit on it forever either.
Exactly. It's a dilemma. And on top of all that, this whole thing has had a major impact on the crypto market in general.
Oh, right. We touched on that earlier. Can you remind everyone how the market reacted to the news of the hack?
Sure. At first, there was a lot of panic. We saw pretty steep price drops, not just for ETH, but for other cryptocurrencies as well. Investors get worried about the security of exchanges and what it means for the future of crypto overall.
Makes sense. It's like when there's a big security breach in any industry. It erodes trust, makes people question the whole system.
Exactly. And the crypto market is already known for its volatility, shall we say. So when you throw a big event like this into the mix, it can have a huge ripple effect. Even seasoned investors can get caught up in the frenzy.
So what would you say to people who are feeling anxious about their own crypto right now?
Don't panic.
Yeah, good advice.
Seriously, don't make any rash decisions based on fear. Take a deep breath, do your research, try to really understand what's going on before you do anything drastic.
Solid advice. It's easy to get caught up in the hype and make a move you regret later. But speaking of research, I'm curious about those blockchain analytics firms. How do they actually track stolen funds? It sounds really complex.
Oh, it is. But imagine it like following a trail of breadcrumbs. Every transaction on the blockchain leaves a digital footprint. These firms use super sophisticated software to analyze those footprints, looking for any clues that might reveal who the hacker is or where they are.
Like piecing together a puzzle.
Exactly. They look for anything unusual, weird transaction amounts, repeating patterns, connections to known wallets or exchanges. It's detective work, but in the digital world.
Fascinating. But this brings up another question. What if they actually catch the hacker? What happens then? I mean, what are the legal consequences for something like this in the crypto world?
That's a good question. And to be honest, the legal side of things is still catching up with the technology. The laws around cryptocurrency are constantly evolving, and there's a lot of gray area when it comes to cybercrime.
So it's kind of uncharted territory.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, but we are seeing more and more cases where law enforcement is getting involved, investigating and prosecuting crypto crime.
That's good to hear. I mean, it gives me hope that even though this technology is new, the legal system is adapting.
Yeah, definitely. And the more cases like this we see, the more precedent will be set, hopefully leading to clear guidelines and stricter regulations.
Speaking of regulations, do you think this hack might lead to more scrutiny of the crypto industry? I mean, regulators can't just ignore something this big, right?
Oh, I think some kind of regulatory response is inevitable. This hack exposed some real vulnerabilities, and regulators will be under pressure to do something.
Like what? What kind of regulations are we talking about?
Well, we could see stricter requirements for exchanges, like having to hold larger reserves, making sure they have enough to cover potential losses, maybe even more stringent KYC, know your customer, and AML, anti-money laundering regulations, making it much harder for criminals to move money around.
So building a more robust regulatory framework.
Exactly, one that balances innovation with protecting people.
It's a tough balance to strike.
It is, but this Bybit hack has been a wake-up call for the whole crypto world.
A big one.
And it's a stark reminder that security is an ongoing challenge. We can't afford to get complacent. We got to constantly be adapting, innovating to stay one step ahead.
And we're back for the final part of our Bybit hack deep dive. So we've talked about how the hack went down, who might be behind it, what they might do with all that ETH, and the fallout in the market.
It's been a wild ride.
But now I want to look ahead. What does this all mean for the future? What happens now?
You know, as crazy as this whole thing has been, it might actually end up being a good thing in the long run.
Really? How so?
It's like a stress test.
For the whole crypto ecosystem.
Exactly. It shows us where the weak points are, forces us to find better solutions, to up our game.
So trial by fire. How do we even begin to fix something like this, though? Where do we start?
Well, one area that's going to see some major changes is security protocols.
Makes sense.
Like, imagine if multi-signature wallets become the standard.
Multi-sig, yeah, I've heard of those.
Instead of one key controlling access, think of it like a safe deposit box. You need multiple keys to open it.
So multiple people would need to sign off on any transaction?
Right, making it way harder for a single hacker to pull off a heist like this.
That makes a lot of sense.
And we might even see more AI-powered security systems. Constantly analyzing transactions, looking for anything fishy.
Like a digital security guard?
Exactly. But remember, we talked about the human element, too.
Right, people getting tricked.
Yeah, no matter how good the tech gets, human error is always going to be a factor. So I think we'll see a lot more focus on education and training, making sure people know how to spot phishing scams and other social engineering tactics.
So like arming people with the knowledge to identify threats, being proactive.
Exactly. And I think this whole thing's going to accelerate the push for clearer regulation in crypto.
Yeah, that seems inevitable.
Governments around the world are going to be taking a closer look at exchanges, especially their security and how they protect customers.
After all, this showed that even the big platforms with all the fancy security measures can be vulnerable.
No one's invisible.
What kind of regulations do you think we might see?
Well, probably stricter requirements for exchanges to hold more reserves, making sure they have enough to cover potential losses, and definitely stricter KYC and AML regulations make it a lot harder for criminals to launder money.
So creating a more robust regulatory environment.
But one that still allows for innovation. That's the key.
Right, finding that balance. What about those blockchain analytics firms? They played a big role in tracing the stolen ETH. What's their role going forward?
Oh, they're going to be even more important.
I bet.
I think we'll see a lot more collaboration between them, exchanges, even law enforcement, sharing information, working together.
Kind of like a united front against crypto crime.
Exactly. Pooling resources, sharing intelligence, and that collaboration could also lead to some really cool new tools and technologies. Imagine using AI to sift through massive amounts of blockchain data, finding suspicious patterns before anything even happens.
Like a global security system for crypto. Pretty amazing stuff. But even with all these advancements, can we really ever eliminate the risk of hacks completely?
Probably not entirely. I mean, anywhere there's value, there's going to be someone trying to steal it. It's human nature, right?
Sadly, yeah.
But we can make it a lot harder. We can raise the bar, make the risk outweigh the reward.
Make it more trouble than it's worth.
Exactly. And it's not just about tech and regulations. It's about building a culture of security awareness. Everyone in the crypto community needs to be more vigilant.
So it's a mindset shift. Everyone needs to take responsibility for security.
That's it. It's a shared responsibility. And honestly, that's what will ultimately determine the success of crypto in the long run.
This has been an amazing deep dive. We've covered a lot, from the nitty-gritty details of the hack to the bigger picture of what it all means.
A lot to think about.
But one thing I keep coming back to is, what happens to the hacker? Do they just disappear with billions of dollars?
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, no one knows for sure. But blockchain transactions leave a trail. If they try to cash out, if they try to move that ETH, they risk getting caught. And with all those blockchain detectives watching, it's a risky game.
So it's not just a technical challenge for them, it's a psychological one too, knowing that every move they make could be their last.
Must be a lot of pressure.
And what happens next could have a big impact on the whole crypto world. If they get away with it, it'll definitely raise some doubts about security. But if they get caught, well, that could be a big win for law enforcement and boost everyone's confidence.
For sure. It's a story that's still unfolding.
So for everyone listening, what's the biggest takeaway from all this? What should they be thinking about?
I think the main takeaway is that this hack, as bad as it was, can actually be a turning point, a chance to make things better. A wake-up call to prioritize security, work together, build a stronger, more resilient crypto ecosystem. The future of crypto depends on it.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our Bybit hack deep dive. We've explored a lot, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
It's been a journey.
But remember, this is just the start of the conversation. Crypto is constantly evolving, and we'll be here to keep you informed every step of the way. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.